The thing is that research papers have already proven to us that the Gen MZ is going to be driving the economy of the future.
Why you think Gen Z will lead the market and why it's so important for people to don't take it lightly?
I think it is not just the way that I think, but so that's one. Now, secondly is because if you look at trends, oftentimes for us being in Asia, we tend to look to America as one of the first places to study, right? The stats and also the trends and behaviors. So being the Gen Zs in America has set us up to see what was the Gen Z like before COVID. What is the Gen Z like now during COVID, and what's the Gen Z like now post-COVID? So if I were to observe the Gen Z now in the post-COVID era, it would possibly set me up to know the Gen Z in the next 3 to 5 years in Asia, because this is always the trends, right, that they are following. So my first observation was in about 2018, 2019, when I was looking at a research around Gen Z. And when I was studying the behaviors, and I was like, oh, that's American, that's their culture. That's not going to happen in Singapore and in Southeast Asia, more so maybe even in Vietnam. But I must tell you that during COVID, it has really changed up. And I started to see it's accelerated because some of the research papers that was actually dictated or predicted, right, that the Gen Z, or in some cases, some of these social media platforms is going to take off, is only going to be in 5 years' time, which is 2025 right now. It actually happened 5 years before, which means that it has accelerated in time, and it is no longer the kind of projection and trajectory that we are actually looking at. But more so today, we are starting to see that it has evolved so quickly because of the power of social media. So yes, the thing is that when I was looking at that, I realized that there was truly a situation or a crisis that has happened already in Singapore and also in Asia. And this is where I then realized that we have to observe further to solidify and validate whether this is the truth. So when I started to see how TikTok has evolved so quickly in this region, and with businesses also falling behind, this has confirmed, yes, the way that the Gen Z is going to change up. And of course, you will know, like for example, how many of the big brands that were being held by the Gen Z, right, as a message to their brands, and with the social media campaigns that they could run to bring down a certain brand. So these are all the real evidence that we could see the power of Gen Z because of the interaction and the influence. And not forgetting that they are talking a lot about transparency and authenticity. So these are the things that big brands need to be looking at, how they can actually keep themselves abreast of this. And of course, many of them being trained in branding may not necessarily want to keep to that kind of the transparency, because there's still so much that they would have to put it behind, right? A front that they are putting up as a big brand. So this is inevitable, but this is also the opportunities that small brands, independent brands, and small guys like all of us, right, will be able to come into that social space to be able to convey exactly who we are and what we stand for. So with that power of peer-to-peer, it actually gives a lot of the power to the hands of the Gen Z in the future of how they're going to be driving economies and also businesses. So again, you would have noticed that by now, many of the organizations, the way they do searches, and also with AI that has changed up, right? The way that we do searches. Even Google searches is affected, right? We no longer just talk about having to go to Google to search for things. Now we will be using AI, ChatGPT to help us. So this is again for the fact that the Gen Z understands, or in fact they were just blessed, right, to have these technologies that they were birthed with, to be able to leverage that power of the AI to drive up so quickly. So if they are going to be evolving so fast, and with the evolution of all the tools that they are able to get their hands into, all the more we're going to see that they are going to be taking the lead. So this is why I feel like all of us in businesses have to pay attention, right, to the way that the Gen Z live out their lives, the way that they consume content, the way that they buy things, the way that they shop, they travel, and everything that they do, even the way that they are going to be educated is going to be quite different. So this is just having to making sure that we are ready, and so still be able to be adaptable and to stay resilient in our business, and of course making sure that we can overcome and thrive in our businesses. Or otherwise we're going to be ending up with having to go into businesses where it's just going to be the old school, the old ways, and then tomorrow when we come into the real working world, we're like, hey, those things that we learned is outdated. Yes. And it's not going to bring us value anymore. So we'll be in that situation.
Do you agree that marketing is so powerful and people should learn about that, and it's important even they not run business? Because I think people really underestimate how important marketing can change your life overnight.
The fact that marketing is really very powerful for big and small businesses, because it's how you want to set the perception that you want people to look at your brand. But again, you must also understand that there is a difference between branding and marketing. Although this is like the two sides of the coin, right? But marketing focuses on the centricity of consumer. So that's why we begin to see at the point of view of the consumer first, beyond putting ourselves as the brand. Now, the issue is that big brands tend to put their branding first before marketing. That's why we never really bring on certain solutions to address the pain or the real need of the consumer. But if we want to see certain sustainability in our brand, in our businesses, right, that we are trying to bring the solution to address the gaps, then this is the case where we have to review our marketing, particularly to look at our persona. So from our buyer persona, we'll be able to then look at potentially what are the goals and challenges that they're looking at, what are some of the pain points that they are facing, are there certain kind of solutions that we're bringing into the market to improve. That's why it brings out the aspects of hyper-personalization. So hyper-personalization is one of those things that is going to be more and more difficult, but it is also going to be the key selling point, right? Where people are going to be loyal to your brand. Because if you are going to be very personalized in your communications, especially addressing your marketing communications to your consumer, likelihood is that you're going to see that your message is going to speak very deeply to the core of the consumer, and hence this is where you get your buyers. This is where you get your followers. This is where you get your people, right, to really devote themselves or their time to you. But if you begin to take an approach of branding that is to build that brand, perceive as how people should look at you, then it's going to be very short term. Because the real branding is about how people speak about you. Just like, if I want to know about Nhi, I will look at reviews, I will look at what people say about Nhi, that is she indeed, right, that power women, that aspiring women to really empower the others to be entrepreneurs. But I will look at the stories and the real transformation that has happened with the other people's lives, to then really tell the story of who really Nhi is. And Nhi doesn't have to be publicized by the newspaper or the news to say who she is, but actually the market has said who she truly is. So that's the kind of authentic and real branding that we want to achieve, because this goes a whole lot further, because that would have been the power of the word of mouth. And of course, this gives us a more ongoing kind of leverage to building our brand, and also, of course, in really resonating with who we truly stand for.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will come back with you with another episode and another amazing guest. Bye.